Le roi est mort, vive le roi. Der König ist tot, es lebe der König. That was the German one and the French before that. No, not. I'm not reversing into Poland. Jokes aside, I'm aboard the new king, the T29. I already made a tank review on the T29, but the problem is I stated it in more or less a question if the King Tiger and the T29 are on par or if one of the two is stronger. With this patch, definitely the crown goes to the T29. In this video, I want to exchange a lot of arguments, supporting this, not just opinion, but also just proving it. The first battle is a very nice battle indeed. Afterwards, we see some scenes that will hopefully support my opinion and where you can actually see what I'm talking about. I'm not just, saying something, I'm also supporting it with footage. Furthermore, I think I'm, accustomed to the T29. It just took me like a few dozen battles, and this tank is awesome. I had an excuse to play it. I granted the T34. So, with all this together, what has happened the last few days and what will happen in a certain respect in the next few days? Well, there was a lot of going on stuff with the new additions to War Thunder. The T34, the RE251, and also the IS-6 made their presence feelable on the battlefield, more or less impressive. The problem with the T29 is that it is, in fact, in this patch, without the shadow of a doubt, so much better than the King Tiger in nearly every respect, and at the end of the day, it is so much more effective on the battlefield. No question about that. But why is that? What has happened to the King Tiger? Has the King Tiger changed? Or is it a battle rating thing? Or is it a power creep? Well, it's all together. The death of the King was a question of time, so to speak. The King Tiger is a very old tank within War Thunder. And so it's no real surprise that other vehicles that got introduced, well, they just had to have something in comparison to the King. But then also the King Tiger was nerfed mechanically, in terms of game mechanics, but also with all the vehicles around it, shifting battle rating, having, different advantages and different disadvantages in regarding to the game mechanics and so on. Specifically about the King Tiger, it lacks the survivability it once had. The firepower is ridiculously weak in its damaging effect. Certain vehicles get spammed out that the King Tiger can't do anything. The matchmaker shifts its priority towards other battle ratings, and 6.7 is no longer the one spammed out. And also, the last few days have been so impressive regarding how bad the King Tiger simply is that I think a lot of people just simply have given up or said that they wait, they make a break, take a break, up until the point that Gaijin hopefully fixes it. And indeed, there is a lot to fix. And it's a perfect demonstration that I drive the T29. But before you hammer in the comments or I go into too deep into the argumentation, let me just point out a few things. First of all, I love 6.7 tanks. The battle rating is just something that I always thought is wonderful. Why? It's the last Second World War tanks mixed up with a few of the Cold War era tanks and some of the really powerful vehicles of the Second World War just showed that they can punch above their weight. But on other hands, at some point it just got ridiculous. The introduction of APDS, the introduction of HEATFS in particular, then also the time when the top tier tanks were 7.7 and not 8.0 or nowadays 8.3. That all always affected the King Tiger. Furthermore, let's have a look at the tech tree. What does Germany have at 6.7? The King Tiger. That's it. No, I'm not joking. The Panther 2 moved up to 7.0. You don't want to artificially up-tier your own tank because it puts you at even a more disadvantage, and you are less likely to face lower battle rating vehicles. Then also the AAAs moved around, and yeah, the RE251 is a support vehicle. It can do a great job. It just misses the APHE in terms of game balance, in my opinion. It is no real, substitute for the Panther 2, in my opinion. And then we still have to talk about yeah, the mechanics of the King Tiger itself. I have driven so many tanks, nearly all of them, throughout all the patches since the beginning of War Thunder. And what has happened now is just simply that German teams get crushed within a few minutes, or at least the actual battle takes few minutes. And why is that? Well, it's obvious. The King Tiger isn't the king anymore. It's not really dead, because I think it's an artificial death. What's that? Well, the game mechanics are, cut in such a way and, made in such a way that it benefits other tanks, but not the King Tiger. The caliber of the 88 is too small, it bounces too often. You have to aim very precisely. Then your penetration is not good enough anymore to go reliably through the mantle of a T29, T34, or even the IS-6. The actual mantle, yes, you can penetrate it. The problem is, behind there is a spalling shield that absorbs a lot of the damage, while the King Tiger can now get reliably one-shotted from a 105mm American APHE shell, a 122mm Russian APHE shell, even the 100mm APHE shell from the Russians does a tremendous amount of damage. And then we also have to talk about the 90mm from the long-barreled American tanks that actually can one-shot the Tiger. And I'm not talking about when you take the full ammunition load. No, I'm talking about the Tiger 2H, where you remove every ammunition except 13 shots. One is registered in the cannon breech and 12 are in the last remaining ammo rack. You always blow up. Why is that? Well, nowadays you can kill all the crew with one shot. That's a fact. Something has changed. Maybe an internal armor plating was removed so that the fragments now reach also the driver and the radio operator. Second of all, the fuel tanks now burn nearly every single time. Especially on the Diesel King Tiger, it's just outrageous that they blow up by fragments caused from the top of the tank that reach the very bottom of the tank. One or two fragments are enough, and it's always the right hand side fuel tank that begins to burn and blows up. Furthermore, the armor itself is flat and there is no second armor plating behind that. And you don't have this strange calculation mechanics. You have the armor, somebody has a better shell, goes through, does the damage. The King Tiger is also a very old tank, I might have mentioned it. It never was really changed. Yes, a few slight buffs, but nothing really extraordinary. Other tanks around it have moved around. And that leaves this tank at a very, very bad spot. Of course, there are some fake elitists out there that blame the community, that blame the players and say it's all the players' fault, they are just stupid, they don't know how to play, they make mistakes. First of all, the same players play also British tanks, Russian tanks and American tanks and occasionally Japanese tanks. How can you distinct them from the normal player that tries its best? And has watched numerous YouTube videos and has played dozens if not hundreds of battle himself and just still struggles. Do you really stand up, point into his face and say you are an idiot, learn to play? You have to make arguments, you have to come up with solutions instead of bashing on people. That is not the right way. Now, especially I think that I know what I'm talking about because I have driven all the vehicles myself. Today I received the IS-6 and believe me that I will have a very, very good look at this tank and I will test it out to the extreme and then give you my resume on it. But alone the T29 is enough to crush German teams in its entirety. There are extreme cases, some random argumentations on numerous YouTube videos and in their comment section that just make no sense in the first place. That just make an argument and apply it to one tank, but don't allow it to apply the same argument towards the other tank. The T29 is not unkillable, and it's, not idiot-proof. But if I drive it, I feel rather guilty because in what I can do in this tank, I'm so much better off than a King Tiger. I just have so many advantages over a King Tiger. It's disastrous. The King Tiger, it has no support from other vehicles that are fast. The Panthers just doesn't cut it. Even the Panther 2 has to struggle to find its meta with the recent addition of the tanks. The RE251 is a premium tank, so I really can't argue with that, you know, having it in this meta. And it all makes no sense. Arguments like that the King Tiger excels at long range sniping. Yeah, it was the king of long range sniping, but where are the maps where we have it? And then players rant about other players being idiots because they go into city fight. Well, tough luck if you have a city map. Half of the maps that we have are close range brawling maps. They are city maps. They are maps where you have to maneuver. And long range sniping is not a thing. It's not the player's fault that he got the map. It's just what it is. You are thrown into a match and you have to deal with it. And who of you out there likes to play on Kursk? Especially with a King Tiger. Imagine you facing an IS-6 or a T29 at long range in your King Tiger. Especially when those tanks are hull down. Do you remember the ridge lines on Kursk? Yeah, much fun. Yeah, this match was just slicing through some AAAs, killing tanks from the side and so on. You can't do this in this respect with a King Tiger. You don't have the knockout blow. The T29 can absorb numerous damaging penetration hits and so on. And let's just have a look at this result. 9 kills, 2 capture zones, 2 enemy kill assists, 100,000 silver lions, and 11,300 vehicle research points. By this time I already have researched the T34. It was a pleasure to do so. The T29 is a no-brainer tank in my opinion in comparison what you have to do in terms of effort in other tanks. 3,471 score points for first place. Without dying, without using a plane, that is quite an achievement. But hey, let's have a look at certain other scenes. So here an RU251 runs over the open field. I catched him from his spawn point and I delete him. But you know, that's not really something that is worth showing. The next part actually supports my claim about the long range engagements. If you put yourself into certain situations, you just come off better. Ah, there is a King Tiger. Look at him. And of course, because I'm an idiot, I hit the roof and I bounce. But he misses as well. Seems like he has an unupgraded gun. I mark him for the rest of my team. So, he has the reload advantage. Tough luck, I can reverse into cover. Now I have reloaded. I can move forward. I can take my aim. Sayonara. One-shot it. The fuel tanks exploded. And that is the diesel King Tiger. You saw it in the kill cam from the additional armor platings. That is what I complain about. The next scene is a little bit a mixture about, what you have to do with Russian tanks. First of all, I receive here my damaging hit into the engine. It doesn't blow up. I see the tank and he reverses. I can meanwhile extinguish the fire. And yeah, this is where the caliber of the gun comes into place. Because the 30% interaction rule tells me one thing. If my gun is equal or bigger to 104mm, I can interact with the side armor. I still need to have the penetration, but this 80mm of this T44-100 were not a problem, and so I could delete him. I could not have done the same shot with the long 88. Trust me on that. And then there is the arch nemesis, the T54-47. I still have problems in the T29 against this bullshit tank. This is still a tank, and the King Tiger still has to face this tank as well. Perfect fragmentation. This damage is not possible with a long 88. Next scene, here on Stalingrad, and I advance very aggressively in the direction of the objective. And oh look, a King Tiger. I am. And disastrous damage. And again his fuel tank burn. This is, I guess, the regular version, so doesn't matter. And I can reload in time because he has insanely long reload rates. And the next shot seals his fate. The repair times on the T29 are ridiculously short, while they are ridiculously long in comparison on German tanks in particular. So if you receive a damaging hit, you never repair in time, it feels like that. But what about taking damage? What about if you get hit in the side? Well, first of all, let's have a look how it does to a Russian tank. It explodes. This APHE round on the T29 is extremely good. In fact, it's a very improved Russian 122 with lower caliber, faster reload and so on. But what about this ammunition? Let's face it, the T13 shell has 177.4 grams of TNT equivalent. That just deletes the enemy. It just one-shots them. Talking about one-shotting, that was a Stura Emil pumping a 128mm shell into my tank, and I just lost 2 crew members and my gun breach. 20-second repair time after getting hit and penetrated by a 128mm German APHE shell. Much balance, please more of it. A few more things that I have to talk about while we watch the rest of the scene and while you can admire how much damage I take. See, the problem is, the King Tiger is an all or nothing tank. Either it's good or it's extremely bad. That's what it is. And that was a lucky bounce, because there was too much angling going on. So I bounced. Normally you would penetrate this shot. But he was lucky, but not for long. So the problem is, for example, the RE251, something like the M56 and other tanks in this respect, or the T92, or so many other tanks at 6.7, or especially a lot of the tanks at 7.0 have heat FS with 320 millimeters of penetration, and those are light tanks. You know, Object 906, by the way, the Object 906 has a faster reloading long 88 in the shape of a fast-firing 85mm gun. Granted, it just has half the high explosive filling, but it's still good enough to delete King Tiger in one shot, very reliable, because the fragmentation is exactly good enough, at least in my experience. I don't need heat FS, but I got it if I want to delete a heavy tank from the front. This is not how, you know, the value of armor works, in my opinion. So, another heat shell enters my tank, and now I'm down to 2 crew members. And then the IS-6 does the rest. The King Tiger, just simply, the glory days are over. We need an improvement in the battle rating system. Not the system itself, but rather, you know, the decompression is really necessary. First, heat shell just damages my turret ring. I try to correct. I'm very much out of position. Second heat shell, the gun breach, the gunner, and 1 loader are down. Third heat shell, I'm down to 2 crew members. I'm really out of position here. So what to do? 27 repair time. 27 seconds repair time. And I have lost half my crew. In this situation I have like 50-second repair time in a King Tiger. But look, there is now a King Tiger and a Panther 2. I reverse. Another penetrating hit into the lower plate from a Panther. So I have here the crew replenishment, a repair, and so on. The ammunition of the T29 doesn't blow up, it doesn't catch fire, it can survive insane amounts of penetration hits. And you expect this tank to be the very same or the equal to something like a King Tiger that has so many inferior stats nowadays. That is just, well, I'm out of words here. So I received numerous APHE shell and heat FS hits, but at the end of the day I will die to a German 88. But yeah, it was a King Tiger. But let's have a look where he was. On top of the hill, giving me another side shot. And again, the warheads don't explode. I did a lot of testing. Another scene right here. That proves how much you can absorb damage. By the way, ignore this shot here. That was poorly aimed. You know, I'm still an average player. Yeah, I am. Sometimes I really play poorly. So, first hit into the engine. Again, it doesn't blow up and it doesn't instantly cook my crew like in King Tiger or a Mouse. I missed the shot. Now I have to extinguish the fire sooner or later. I'm doing it now. And I hammer here with the machine gun. I take out that commander and he puts another hash round into my side without doing any damage. I missed the other shot. You know, he just disappeared quite there where I couldn't hit him anymore. I did not see the Tiger there for a moment. I looked at the wrong part of the screen. Now in the replay I see it, and there is an RE251. Look at this. That was a very, very unlucky hit on the gun mantle. That is quite trollish. And he pumps a hash shell into my side, doing absolutely nothing. And then I fire a single 50 cal, looking like I would have shot, and he was fooled by that. Thank you very much. But it was not too long. I couldn't celebrate too long because I get shot into the side of the turret by a Tiger, and that costs me 2 crew members. And now I angle myself in this way because of the damaged turret ring. He is afraid of me. The curvature of the bridge covers my hull. You know, using a brain is not forbidden. It's not a forbidden mod in War Thunder. You know, you should tell other people. Yeah. And you can see the fast repair time. And I am repaired, and now I get hammered by AAA. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And obviously, he hits me again in the back of the tank where there is the transmission. And again, the Tiger sees his chance. Another side penetrating hit into the turret puts me down to 2 crew members. Now I try to reverse. I bounce another shot right there. And now he has my gun barrel as well. I tried to repair, but it was not to be. Sadly, I burn and he puts me on fire again shortly afterwards. And that is my death. I mark him for the rest of my team and then I die. So that is another battle where I, funnily enough, encountered the IS-6. Now, I just received the IS-6 today and I have to play it excessively to test out how good this tank is. I have to make a tank review as soon as possible on this tank. However, it's not gonna be easy because you know, there are so many aspects, and maybe Gaijin will change the battle rating, will change some armor things. You know, it's just freshly implemented. We saw a lot of changes to numerous vehicles after their introduction, so I'm not quite sure. But this is the battle between the IS-6 and the T29, and you know, both would chew through a King Tiger like crazy. And there I see that I have to do it with an IS-6. The hull is practically untouchable, and that just leaves small portions on the turret, but they are bugged, and that is the next thing. The Long 88 has formally the penetration values to go through a lot of the parts of the enemy tanks, the IS-6 turrets front, the T29's turrets front, but first of all, then optics absorb the shell for some bizarre reason, or they bounce, or they just disappear into the void, and things like this. The Long 88 is bugged left, right, and center, and game mechanics don't apply to this shell that, you know, should do the damage. Then the damage output itself is ridiculously small. I mentioned it before. The Object 906 does more shrapnel damage with its half of the TNT equivalent. I think it's 54.4 grams of TNT equivalent. That's exactly half of what the King Tiger has in the APHE shell. I bounce a random shot from, I don't even know what it is, but you know, it's just T29 things. The problem is that the tank is the backbone of the German tank line, and there is no support. There is just no other tank. And all the other tanks at the same battle rating, like the premium version, or the Ferdinand, the Jagdpanther, you know, they rely on the same weapon system, the Long 88. But the Long 88 doesn't cut it anymore. For a long time, the Long 88 was the slaughter gun in War Thunder. But now Gaijin seems to have listened to all the complainers that complain about King Tigers and so on, and they overcompensated it. The King Tiger became much more vulnerable. The shell doesn't do the damage anymore. The survivability is in the trash, and now 6.7 is, you know, in a coma. And then there are all the smart asses out there who did not even test drive the tanks themselves, did not even take them out them in the battle, or don't accept any kind of arguments, and they are just, you know, trolling people saying, yeah, by the way, that was a bounce on the cupola with a 105mm gun. So yeah, thanks for aiming for weak spots, you know. Advices like get good, learn to play, and, you know, stop being a German wereaboo and such, they just don't help anybody. That just is poison and venom being initiated into comment sections where people go on each other's throat for a game. And the game, well, it's made by Gaijin, and you can, you know, make a cut in the employees between Gaijin. There are the guys that you interact with, and, you know, the guys on the that I have to, or that I deal with. They're very friendly. There are guys like you and me, and they are really cool. Okay, there is nothing wrong with them. They are doing their job. They're doing a good job. But then there are the devs, and they are very talented. At least the ones that doing the graphics. I mean, look at this. You know, this is autumn in Germany, which is ugly, but it still looks amazing in this game. And, you know, when you look at the water maps and the air battles, sunset and so on, it looks amazing. And then there are the decision makers, and either they are drunk with vodka or they are greedy as fuck. What makes that sense? Does this make sense? Well, yes, it makes sense if you look at it under the aspect of that now the power creep is initiated by premium vehicles. T29, IS6, RU251, and so on. They are the trouble starters. There are a lot of vehicles in the tech tree as well that make problems. Don't get me started on that. But with this patch, it's just selling out tanks. You know, that's literally what it is. Buy this tank, comrade, you have good advantage. And then, you know, if you are more powerful in this aspect, more powerful under that aspect, at the end of the day, you are more powerful than the other tank. If then the fate of an entire battle can hang on the shoulders of one tank that just reliably deals with multiple tanks, where is the difference between strong and being overpowered? I can answer this question for sure. But this is not the only video talking about this. This was just, you know, stating your problem seen from not just the Germans but also the Americans, and be sure that I will also have a point of view from the Russians. So at this point the battle is done. I cut out the last remaining like 10 minutes of driving around, and I just will show you some screenshots of some successful battles that I have. And yeah, that's it for me today. I hope you understood the message of this video. I hope you let me know in the comment section your opinions, because they are important. Stop insulting each other. Stop the fake elitism. Face the facts, and, you know, come up with solution instead of, you know, insulting or saying to somebody learn to play and stuff. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give this video a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.